Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to Liberation Prayer Ministries, and this is our monthly empowerment seminar. And today we would be talking about positive parenting practices. And if you have more parents around you, this is the time to send those links out to them and bring them in to come and learn and how to deal with your children. Today, I would introduce myself first. My name is Olajumoke Adesina, and today with me, I have Miss Christiana Latunde. She would be walking us through what it means to what it means to have kids and how to deal with our children, how to build relationships with them, how to just parent them in a way that they would grow up to be who we have in mind for them to be. So right now I would be passing it over to Miss Christiana for her to do her thing. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I definitely want to say thank you to Pastor Shay and his lovely wife for giving me this opportunity and this platform to do this. First of all, a little background about myself. My name is Christiana Anulapo. I am from Nigeria, born, raised in Nigeria, and uh, I have a lot of nieces and nephews that I went to do Omugo for. And so I have a little personal background that way, and about children. And I have professional background as well. I have a master's in teaching, preschool to third grade, and special education up to 12th grade. Um, I got into education around 2010. I did my clinicals. I worked in different districts, sub in, and I was an assistant teacher in Tenafly. But I began as a head teacher in 2016 in Patterson district. So that's about 8 years as a special education preschool teacher. And I also teach at my church. So I have a touch of children all around, all around me. Um, so today, it's we're focusing on positive parenting, right? And we're going to look at how it, from a teacher's point of view, we'll look at that, and a few things I would like to cover that I hope helps would be how to know your child, how to get to know your child by interacting with your child and communicating with your child, the training and routine you'll give your children, the rules and discipline, how to come about that, what playtime means and what it should look like, sleeping and healthy habits, and then some other resources that I hope to share later on. So first of all, I would like to say that every child is different, and so is every family, right? We all know
Yes.
that, we're created in our own individual ways. God created us in his image, the different ways he likes, us. So every family is different and every child is different. So you have to get to know your child and what works best for your child, know your family dynamic and how this this topics and these ideas and these suggestions will work in your family. So know your child. The way the way to get the best out of your child is to know who that child is. Your first child, how you treated that first child will be different from how you treat your second child. The
Yes.
first child came, you took all the pictures, you did everything right, you checked all the boxes, and the second child came, you're slacking and
Yes.
being a little taking it a little easy. So interact with your child. Make time to talk. There's every thing we do is a sacrifice, so we have to invest the time to talk to your child. When can you talk to your child? You could talk to your child as you get ready in the morning. Oh, how was your night? Did you dream? Did you do this? You're getting to know that child. Oh, what color do you want to wear? What color shirt do you want to wear today? You know, it brings out their personality. They get to share a little bit about themselves. They become a little independent. At the grocery store, you know, talk about things, have conversations on your drive to the grocery store. Continue to interact and communicate. You're building relationship with your child on your way to places during meal times when you're eating. You could talk to your child when you're eating. You could talk about the colors of the food, the texture of the food, you know. So you're constantly interacting, giving language, building language into your child's daily routine. During bath time, you're talking to them, you're interacting with them. They know that you care about them. That's what you want to build. That's the relationship you're trying to build. At bedtime, what are you talking about? You could read a story, you could, you know, do different things during bedtime. Talk to them, or how was your day generally? Ask questions. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. And how do you talk to your child? You have to listen attentively. You know, don't just talk at your child. You want them to interact. Communication is a two-way street. You know, so they're telling you, they're sharing, you're also sharing. Oh, my day, I'm tired because I did this, you know. So they're a little more understanding as well. You know, you're having a relationship, they're a little more understanding, as, oh, mommy's a little bit tired, maybe I should behave myself today, you know. So it's nice when you have that type of relationship. They share theirs, you also share yours. And when you don't feel good, don't be afraid to share that you don't feel good, you know. You're building compassion with your child, so when they go to school and their friend is not feeling well, they have that compassion, you know. So all these things you're doing, as you're knowing your child and you're interacting with your child, you're communicating with your child, there's so many things building,
in
so
them.
many social skills that you're building in them, self-regulation, a lot of things. You might not know it as you do it, but you're investing so much in your child. So make the time to talk and constantly communicate with them. Be very present when you communicate. And if you're feeling like, you know, you're overwhelmed, again, don't be afraid to take a step back, you know, because we're all humans. Sometimes we have a stressful day. Take that time so you don't react. You know, you don't want to be having a conversation and then react to your child, and they're like, what's going on with mommy, you know.
And
So
like when you transfer the aggression back to them,
exactly,
what's going
exactly,
on there?
exactly. They take a step back. So you want to have a balance.
Mhm.
More know when you're getting to your threshold, and know when, okay, I'm getting there. I'm gonna take a step away, regain myself, and then come back and, you know, do what I'm supposed to do as a parent. Don't be
And
too hard on yourself.
yes, I mean, the
Yeah.
way we grew up in Africa, there's so many things that went, I mean, along with us, and it wasn't even our fault. Like our parents just like transferred whatever aggression they had towards something else or someone else, and they just come home and be like, "Why is this house upside down? Why is this and that and that?" And we just get the hit of everything, and we're like, what did
Exactly.
we do? What did I do? What happened? And things like that. So we want to do better as parents. Like we've seen it, we didn't like it. We also don't want to do that same thing to our kids. So
Exactly. And that's why when you know your child, when you have open communication, open relationship, you're able to, you know, talk through your day as they talk through their day. And
mhm,
this way, when you're not feeling good, they can see, okay, mommy's not feeling too good, daddy's not feeling too good. You know, I have to behave a little bit better, you know. And then you also know when you're not feeling too good, you know, and then you take a step back. You know,
yeah,
I'm going to move to the next slide. The first This is again from the point of view of a teacher. The first month or two at the beginning of the school year, is very significant as teachers, and even for the students, because now we are setting up the groundwork for the children. We're setting
Yes.
up the foundation of the classroom, how we want things to run smoothly. We're creating a comfortable classroom environment. We involving the students as we do so. That's why, you're building that relationship. You're getting to know the students the same way that it should be done at home. So it's a joint effort. When we come up with classroom rules, we do it together. Oh,
Mhm.
what do you think we should come up with as our rules? Oh, I like to do this, I like to do that, I would like to go outside. Okay, when you go outside, how would you like to play? I like to play when so that I'm happy. Okay, so we need, then you give them the language they need. Oh,
Yes.
so we need to play safely. Okay, so one rule we're going to have outside is that we're going to play safely. That's them being part of the conversation, part of the rule making. And when you get to know children, you know that once they're involved in something and they create something, they take
Yes.
ownership of those things, and they become very proud of it. This
Yes.
way you can hold them accountable for the things that, oh, remember when we came up with our rules, you
Mhm.
said you were going to play safely. I don't think you're playing safely now. Something like that. So those are the things we do at the beginning of the school year. We come up with things together. We identify all those sections in the classroom. All the foundation is getting to know your child, interacting. That's the
Yes.
foundation. So each person, even myself, I'm included in the process. And like I said, it's them taking responsibility for their actions and inaction. So if you do something, there you know you're accountable for it. If you don't do something, you're also accountable for it.
No.
So and we have consequences. So you bring in your homework, you get a good mark. You don't
Mm.
bring in your homework, you don't get a mark. So there are consequences for your actions and inactions. So all these things, good and bad, at the beginning of the year, are things that are is a foundation that's laid the
Mhm.
beginning of the year. So this way, when you have back to school, the expectations are set. Back to school night, right?
Yes.
Everybody attends back to school night, I
Yes.
hope. Yes, parents.
We do.
You see that, okay, the foundation has been laid, there's structure in the classroom, the rules set up, and the children feel comfortable in the classroom, and they
Mhm.
feel as part of a classroom community. The same way that it should go at home. They want to feel as member of this family because they're part of the conversation of things going on at home, and they feel comfortable to share things with mommy and daddy, and they take ownership of, oh, that's my bedroom, I'm going to clean it, I'm going to lay my bed, I'm going to do all these things. And again, we'll still talk a little more about that. You want to learn the good, and I get to learn the good and bad habits of the children. When I see bad habits, then I want to correct those bad habits before it lingers throughout the school year. So that's
Mhm.
why I try to collect information, try to observe the children, learn, see how they talk, how much language they have. So if they don't have enough language, then I'm giving more language as we progress during the school year so they can improve their language. Um, what are their skills, their habits, their interests? What do they prefer? When I know what their interests are and what they prefer, I could use that to say, oh, you want to do this, you want to play with some toys, okay, first let's do this, let work with me, so it's almost like you're negotiating, but to my benefit as the teacher, because I got to know what that child likes, so I
Likes.
can use what that child likes, the interest of that child, to get
Mold.
them to do the work I want them to do. you know um and we do this in the beginning of the year so we know how to approach the year, and approach the child so they can receive the information that they want and help them reach their goal, which could also mean referring them for special services. So I, as a special ed teacher, my students already come into my classroom with certain services, but I can then request for more services for certain children
Yes.
because they're not meeting their goals. And we'll dive a little more into it later. And this helps me run a good classroom as we progress in the school year and as you would want to run a good home. And I put in bold hear both mom and dad. The
Wow.
job is not only for mommy, the job is not only for daddy. It's for both mom and dad, and children are very observant and they see. So we want to involve both parents in parenting. That's why it's parenting. We want to involve both parents to be parents. Um, and as you know, that every child is growing each year, so you're consistently learning about the child. I get new students every school year. So every school year, I get to learn about every child again. So
Mhm.
your child is growing from age 7 to age 8. Things change within a year. So you get to learn about your child again for another year, and you adjust and they adjust. So you're constantly learning as your child grows. You learn about them, you learn about yourself. It's continuous learning. So we move into the next slide, training and routine. Training and routine. Here I say that the American system is based on Christianity, right? And the
Mhm.
school system was also based is also based on this,
Mhm.
started the same way, based on Christianity. And I quote Proverbs 22:6. It says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." I underline train up because it's continuous, right? You train up a child in the way they go. The same way I had pointed out that a child is changes every year, is the same way that you have to train that child every year in different stages with different experiences, with different exposure to things. The child is growing, you're constantly training.
Mhm.
When, because it's going to happen, they will eventually grow out, but before then, before they grow out and you don't have to train them anymore, you still have to continue to do that. I Training is continuous
Mhm.
until when you know that they know what they're doing independently, then you move to a different skill. So for example, you're training your child to put their plate, when they're done eating, put the plate in the sink, right? But when they finish eating, they drop the fork in the sink and leave the plate. So you continue to remind that child and train that child that, oh, you
Yes.
forgot your plate at the table. You have to go pick it up and put it in the sink. So it's continuous until when they already doing that really well. Then you move on to the next thing. Oh, after you drop your plate and your fork in the sink, you have to take a napkin and wipe the table. That would be the next step. So there's a stage to everything. If they have perfected one, then you move on to another. You continue to build and build and build until, is there anything do we ever stop learning as humans?
Say that again.
I said,
Sorry.
do we ever stop learning as humans?
No, no,
No, right? So
no.
we're continuing, we're always going to continue to train the children,
Yes, yes.
right?
Never.
And here I put that training is a part, they're little bits of routine to training, right? So for like the example I gave, there are different steps to it. There's the taking your plate to the sink, and there's the cleaning up the table,
Mhm.
wiping the table. So those are routine things. They're a little bit of things that they need to do to build up the whole picture, right? You
Yeah,
want the whole, but before you can get to the whole, you have to break down the steps.
yeah.
So those are the little steps that we have to do consistently so they can understand what the full picture is. You might present the full picture and it's like it's overwhelming because
Yes.
it's too much for me to do all at once.
Mhm.
But when you break it into little steps and then they get to the full picture, you're like, I accomplished it. My child can go take the plate to the sink and wipe the table.
Yes.
Those little steps. And routine, their patterns. We come to school every day, you know where you hang your jacket. After you hang your jacket, you know where the bathroom is. After you go to the bathroom, you know where the table is, where you sit down. After you sit at the table, you know that you go to the carpet for meeting time. After you sit at the carpet for meeting time, you know that you go to an example, to the table for math time. After you know where the materials for math is. You go to English, you know where the materials for English language is. uh, so it's a routine, and routine there, it's all about patterns. We have patterns, and our life is a pattern. We wake up in the morning, we say our prayer, we fix our bed, we go to the bathroom, we brush our teeth. After brushing your teeth, you go back to the bedroom, you dress yourself, you go back to the bathroom, you uh, do your hair, your makeup. So it's a pattern, and we just have to teach our children what those patterns are, so they can, be independent. Take your time. It could be overwhelming, but break it into little bits and pieces, and you'll see that those routines become patterns, and those patterns become a habit, and they get so used to it, and they become a whole child with who has good character.
Yes.
We want our children to have good characters. That's why we're trying to do this. That's why we're training them. That's why we're establishing routines. And you see that I said every child loves structure, knowing what to expect, and when you know what to expect as part of your routine,
Mhm.
there's no anxiety anymore. They're not afraid, oh, what are we doing next? They know. So they know what the expectation is, they know what comes up next, and if things change, it's good, because then this way you get to teach a child flexibility. You're teaching a child how they could be flexible. um and you use that opportunity to tell them, oh, this is changing because of so reason. It's not that you're not explaining yourself to them, but
Yes.
you're letting them be comfortable with the change that's coming up. And that way they learn how to be flexible when things change, because life change, we experience change. It's part of life.
Yes.
um so let's see, we're going to the next topic, which is rules and discipline. um so when you want to come up with rules, like I gave a scenario in the beginning while we're talking. I said that we want to go outside, right? When you go outside, how would you like to play? Oh, I want to be happy, I want to have fun. They might give those words. You might not be able to create a rule for the language they give, but then you want to round it up and say, oh, we're going to play nicely, we're going to share toys when we're playing. So let's know that when it's outdoor time and we're playing, that we're going to play nicely, and we're going to share our toys. So you give scenarios, come up with appropriate family rules, and you're able to problem solve emotional situations that work for everyone. So, for example, you know, like I said, be kind, play nicely, share, keep your hands to yourself. Simple things that they will easily remember, that when you go outside, you're in public, you can simply say, keep your hands to yourself.
Yourself. Yes.
Things that are simple, direct, they get the message. No, if you don't keep your hand to yourself, I will smack. That's too long and too broad, and you might not be able to stay outside. But
Yes.
when you say so, things simple, direct, they know, okay, this is what mommy means, this is what daddy means. We keep it simple, we keep it direct. And try here, I point out that try not to speak in the negative, because when you say don't touch a plant, most children hear the end of it, touch the plant, or then they're then curious to touch the plant. So
Mm-hmm.
you just say, keep your hands to yourself, or keep your hands quiet. Just something simple that gives them the mess. Oh, this is what is expected of me. Let me
Yes.
do that so I don't get in trouble, because I know that with my rules, there are consequences, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we've established those consequences as a family.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we're consistent when we do things. So keep the rules simple. Give them scenarios like, how would you feel? How would you feel if I took your toy? I won't be happy. Okay, so when you take mommy's things, or when you take your sister's things, she's not happy. So create scenarios, give examples, and problem solve those ways, to come up with rules, to come up with things that will make them understand that, oh, I have to make sure that I'm following the rules, I'm listening to mommy, because if I don't, I know there's a consequence. What would you do if someone uh touched you? Oh, we're not supposed to touch people.
Yeah.
We're supposed to keep our hands to ourselves. So I would tell mommy if someone touched me, or I would tell daddy if someone touched me. So you have those conversations as a family. You come up with those rules. You have those conversations. This is why you're constantly talking in the bathroom. You're talking. That's a scenario that could come up at that time. In during lunchtime, do you eat with people outside? What do you eat? There are different conversations and scenarios that could come up at different times of the day. That's why you want to constantly communicate with your child, constantly interact with your child. You
Yeah.
listen. Oh, okay. So that child at school during playtime took my child's necklace. Oh, what's their name? You get to learn things about your children as you're casually talking and casually interacting with them. And this way you can then help them problem solve. You can then come up with rules as a family that, oh, okay, if that happened again, this is what you should do. If this happens again, this is what you should do. This is our rule as a family. And I have a friend who they have a family like code word or password that if you say this during casual conversations outside in public, they know that, okay, my child doesn't feel comfortable. We just have to end and move on. So that's something you could also bring up during casual conversations. Oh, okay, so if that happens next time, let mommy know by saying this word. Let daddy know by saying this word. And it's only our family that you could say this to. So don't say it to anybody else. You come up with those kind of things within the family during all your knowing your child time, creating your rules and having those routine. During this time is when you have all these things that would work for you in and outside the your private space, at home or in public.
Exactly.
um
Before
how
before
can
you go to the next point, thank you so much,
Oh,
uh,
you're very welcome.
Christina. I just wanted to talk to our viewers out there. If you're watching this right now, share the link to your family, friends, your sister, brothers, everyone that you know that have kids that could learn from this. Also, I know there are so many questions that is coming into your mind as you're learning like all these ways to address your kids, ways to raise your kids. So those questions, this is the time to start typing them in the comment section, and we would address them as we go. So I just wanted to put that out there. Go ahead, Ma.
Okay, all right. So, another scenario, we talked about the code word and the sign, and what should we do when we go for visits, or when you have a guest, oh, when mommy's talking, you have to give me 1 second. When I say, give me 1 second, you give me 1 second. I have a turn to talk, and then when it's your turn to talk, you talk. You want to tell them that it's not like I'm ignoring you, but when mommy has a visitor, it's not the appropriate time. So again, back to the having scenarios and conversation prior to when situations happen. And when situations happen, don't be afraid. We're all human, we're all learning. Maybe something you think you're addressing with your child might be uncomfortable, but someone else might be learning from it. Like another parent outside there might be learning from what you're addressing with your child at the moment. So don't be afraid to address something with your child, because when children know that you can address certain situations outside, they manipulate those situations and then do certain things outside because they know, oh, well, I'm going to get away with it. No, you're not going to get away with it. We have rules. We've established the rules prior to this. So
Yes.
I'm going to address it. You know the rules. You know you're not supposed to interrupt mommy. Give me 1 second. When it's your turn, I'll let you know, because you've had that conversation. And if it comes up again, you address it again. Don't be afraid to address it with your friend present. That's your family rule. Your family rule is different from my family rule,
Mhm.
which we should all respect, right?
Yes.
So, and again, someone else can learn from that.
Yes.
Still under the rules and discipline. I know that as we grow up, right? A lot of us grew up, maybe not everybody, but a lot of us grew up with parents when we say something and we're supposed to say, "Oh, mommy's talking," and you're not supposed to interrupt mommy. We got like a little smack in the face, right? But
Yes.
now we cannot do that, right?
No.
We're not able to uh, smack our children. No, no. But
No.
we have to still address those situations, which is why we come up this with those scenarios prior to um, the situation
Yes.
arising. Yeah, we want to demonstrate these things. We want to explain everything to our children. And where we're explaining to our children, we don't want to use like baby language and say, "Oh, but you know, mommy, this." No, they're growing. You want to use mature tone and mature language, mature but simple language.
Mm-hmm.
Explain the things to them, describe what you need to describe, demonstrate what you need to demonstrate with them. They understand. These children are our children are very
Yeah.
smart, but they take advantage of things because they observe. Children observe and learn. That's how they learn. They learn through play,
Yeah.
they learn through observation. So they see what's going on, they take advantage of it and want to manipulate. So they're very smart. We need to learn to outsmart
Yeah.
them and do what works for our family.
That was what I was about to say. I was like, they are borderline manipulative. Like, so you have to be smart enough to catch that and just put them in line, but in a really great way that won't kind of mess up with their head or something. So,
Right.
firstly, they are smart. They know everything. They know what they're doing. Even like the 3-year-old a smart a 2-year-old is with do you get so
Yes, I absolutely understand because certain things when children at church or my nephews are doing, and I'm like, "Will you do this with your teacher in school?" And right away, "No." No. Okay, so why do you think it's okay to do at home? So they know. But if certain things haven't been established prior at home,
Mhm.
then it's like, "Oh, I could get away with it because we don't have the same rules as we have in school. School is school. I follow the rules, I get good grades and everything's good, and
Yeah.
that's there. But
Mhm.
home, it's just home. I go with the
Everything
flow. I
goes.
make up my own rules. But no, it shouldn't be that way. We should have our established rules, we should have our routines, we should have the expectations that are set. This way they align with what we want our children to look like, because eventually, remember, from training to having a routine to establishing, you're
Mhm.
building the potential character of that child for the long run.
Yeah.
So those are the things we want to set in place so that we have children who have good character.
Mhm.
And then the last slide for under rules and discipline is the slide, excuse me. Consequence and reward for following the rules. So you have to follow, that's the next slide, not this,
Okay.
the next one. Yes, the consequences and the rewards for following rules. So you come up with all the scenarios, you establish what the consequences are. If you do this, then you don't get iPad. If you do this, so there should be consequences for your actions. And you should give warnings. Oh, you didn't listen the first time. In my classroom, I normally give like 3 warnings. After the by the third warning, then you know that, you know, you lost your opportunity to fix your behavior. So yes, you want to give your child the opportunity to fix their behavior, whether outside or inside. Give them the chance to fix their behavior. If they then don't fix their behavior, then it's the consequence. or
Yeah.
or when they do something, always positively praise them, and so they know that, oh, you're being rewarded. And it shouldn't always be monetary reward. A simple praise, a simple sharing. Oh, I'm going to tell dad what you did because he'll also be proud of you. That's also a reward. A simple, oh, I'm going to call grandma. Like other things. It shouldn't always be tangible rewards. There's some intangible things that they should learn to also appreciate, because we don't want our children to always want like instant gratification of like money, candy, iPad, or all this. You want to build everything and incorporate it all as a reward system, so they know that, oh, there are different ways. If mommy says, I'm going to praise you, you're praised. If daddy says, I'm going to call uncle and let him know what you did, that's
Yes.
also a praise. So there are different ways you can reward a child. Those are things that you want to come up with um, as a family. So this way, what mommy's doing is in line with what daddy's doing as well.
Yes.
Um,
So I'm learning
and
a new thing now. Like for reward, I try to build a reward system in my home. uh
nice.
yeah, we try to build a reward system, but I'm learning a new thing that it doesn't have to be like tangible or like, oh, okay, so you get the screen time, do you get this, or what do you want for summer and things like that. It can also be like, okay, I would praise you, I would tell this person, because sometimes when they do something wrong, I'm like, okay, I would tell this person about it and be like, no, I'm sorry. But it can also be that, okay, you're being rewarded in a way that I would tell maybe your teacher that you did your homework in less than 5 minutes, and she'd be like, "Oh, I'm excited." Can you
Exactly. Proud of yourself.
hear? I think the
Can you
network.
hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you can all, I said you could also turn it to them as individuals, because they also need to learn to be proud of themselves and ask
Mm-hmm.
them, oh, aren't you proud that you did this? And they'll be like, yes, I'm so proud of myself. I did. So they're also building their own self confidence and self
Mm-hmm.
esteem that, yes, I did what is right and I am proud of myself. I don't have to get something to do what is right, because that's what you want to build. You don't want to only have to receive something before you do the right thing. That's not what we want to train our children to do, you know. And here I say a behavior ignored becomes a behavior learned and becomes accepted. So if you don't fix a behavior, then you're accepting that. Well, if you don't fix a negative behavior, then you're accepting that negative behavior, and that's it. They've already learned it. It feels like, oh, mommy's okay with me doing this, daddy's okay with me doing this. I'm gonna do it at home, I'm gonna do it outside, I'm gonna do it when I go to my friend's house where mommy's not there. And then they're saying, oh, do they train these children? And we don't want that. We
Yeah.
want children who have good character. So we want to have those relationships with them, have good relationship, good communicative relationship with our children, interact with them, ask questions, be very involved in your children's life, and establish those rules, those consequences, those routine for them, so they know what is right to do. um, it takes twice as long to break or correct a behavior that's learned. This I learned while I was teaching. So
Oh.
I had a student who came in to my classroom at the age of 3. And as a special ed teacher, when they come in at 3, they don't leave till they're 5. So this child came in biting and scratching and everything. And I mean, yes. So I am doing what I can. I'm giving a chew toy. So instead of biting people, you're biting your chew toy. This and I do. By the time the occupational therapist came, and I was grilling and what else can be done, and we had meetings, and this was the point she told me. She said, "Yes, you're doing the best that you can, but remember, a behavior that is learned takes twice as long to break." So, for example, he started biting at 1.5, right? 1.5 years old. Now he's learned that behavior for a year and a half because he came into my classroom at 3. So it's going to take 3 years to break that behavior.
Oh.
So once you've established something and the child has learned a bad behavior, if you don't start correcting it right away, you just sit back and accept it, it'll take twice as long for you to break that bad habit.
Hmm.
So once you see something that you don't want your child to do, right away start looking for strategies as your family, as your family unit. Talk and see if you can come up with something. Talk to your teacher. Don't be afraid to talk. Ask the teacher. Be very open and communicative with your teacher. Ask your teacher, and this, this, I'm having this trouble with him. What do you think? Or you could give a scenario, a different scenario, and say, oh, what do you suggest? Teachers are very open if they're able to. If not, as I would ask another colleague if I'm not sure, and try to provide you with the best result. And if I don't know, maybe I would suggest you to look at certain websites to help you find resolution
So,
to
yeah.
those things.
Yes. So I was going to ask a question maybe at the end of this, like the presentation, which
Okay.
I feel like this and the points you made about it takes twice as long to break and correct behavior learned is kind of answers the question, because I was going to ask that what advice do you have for parents that feel like their kids don't have good characters and they are overwhelmed where to start from, or okay, they started already but they're just tired about it, and it feels like okay, you just have to keep going, like be like just be consistent about it.
This is the next point. Consistency is key.
Hmm.
Don't give up. Do
Wow.
not give up. It takes, again, twice as long to break a behavior. So you want to be consistent. Yes, you've established it. You feel like it's not working. Continue to do it. Look for more strategies, but continue to do it. Take breaks when you need to, because yes, it can be overwhelming, it can be stressful. Express those express your concerns, but do not give up. Continue to work on the behavior you're trying to break, because it will take a while for you to break it. If it's been accepted for so long, why all of a sudden do you want to change it? You've said okay to me always jumping on the couch for 2 years. Why now are you telling me not to jump on the couch? But now it's an established rule. You want to be consistent, and when you're consistent, don't forget the reward and the consequence. Or you're jumping, you get your warning, you're not listening, then it's now consequence. So you follow through, which I think I put here somewhere, maybe the next slide or towards the end, the review. So consistency is key. It is always, you always need to follow through the consequence no matter what. You might be uncomfortable. For example, what I do, some of my students, they want to throw a tantrum. I ask them to clean up or pick up a toy. They don't want to clean up. I give them give a chance, and now you don't want to do it. My follow through is to stand up, or not that I'm sitting down, go to the child and pick up make the child pick it up, right? So yes, it'll be uncomfortable for me, but
Yeah.
eventually, not in 2 months or 3 months, it might be at the end of the school year when I say, oh, clean up, that child is independently picking up the toy and cleaning up. It
Yes.
might be the following school year that the child is eventually doing that. But I follow through with the instruction that I gave, with the warning afterwards. And I follow through after that, that the consequence is then not really a consequence, but a teaching moment for me, is to make sure that that child picks up the toy. And I would go there with their hand. This is what I mean when I ask you to clean up. This is the expectation. This is what you do. So as a parent, you ask a child to clean up. Oh, go clean up your plates. You turn back 10 minutes later. Why is your plate still on the table? I asked you to clean it up. That's the second chance, right?
Mhm.
Because now
Mhm.
you're reminding them they still did it. Don't you know where your plate is? Then you go, look, pick up your plate, put it in the sink. That's where the sink is. You put it in. That's why you know, you make sure you follow through
Hmm.
completely, so they learn that daddy means business when he tells me to do this. Or
Yes.
mommy means business. And this way, when again they're outside and you say something, they know that there's going to be follow through, there's going to be consequence,
Wow.
because I know what the expectations are as a family that we have established. Know when to negotiate with your child. So you give 2 to 3 choices. um,
Hmm.
I'm always surprised when uh some people tell me they cook, they have children and they cook this one for this one, this one for this one, this one for this one.
Yeah.
Is there allergy? Do you have allergies? No. Why am I cooking 5 different meals to make sure? No, you give 2, 3 choices, not only 2 meals. That was just a funny example, but not only 2 meals, to different things, different events, different toys. Oh, you can't have all this. You get 2 preferred choices, because children might want to pick something else. You
Mm-hmm.
get to choose two preferred choices, and they have no other choice but to choose the two preferred choice you gave to them. So give those choices, let them choose out of your own choice. So you still win as the parents. We always want to win. So you still win as the parents, but
Mhm.
you have narrowed their choices. You understand? I hope I'm explaining myself right.
You are. But
Okay.
I mean, when they give 2 to 3 choices, I have a daughter that when it comes to the food example you made, I try that with her, and one way or the other, she just breaks the rule. And I'm like, okay, so I know whatever I'm cooking, she doesn't want. Okay, I'm gonna give her like 2 or 3 other choices, and she'll be like, okay, I'm just gonna stay hungry, or like I will just take fruits, and I'm
Then
like,
a reward can come in. Oh, if you eat this, then you incorporate the reward.
the
Then
reward.
you get this. It's still what you want. You've given her two choices, but then, okay, I know you don't really want this, but what if you eat half of it and then you get something else? So you're negotiating, but with your own preferred choice.
Good choice. Okay.
Yeah, and they get to win too, because then they get a little bit of a reward after.
Yes.
You just have to know how you know what you want, know
Mm-hmm.
how to work it in, with your kids. Again,
Exactly.
you've established the relationship, you know what their preferences are, you know what they like, what their interests are. You can incorporate those things to get what you want out of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So, and I here I have be flexible and gracious, which is what we're saying that yes, okay, she doesn't really want this meal, but I kind of want her to have some of of this meal, this delicious meal that Nigerian dishes we spend 2 to 3 hours cooking that our children don't want to eat. So, you get to be flexible with your child, and um have and gracious to yourself, and have the results we want. And finally, here I have that we are only perfect through Christ, so we have to
Yeah.
forgive ourselves. We don't have all the answers, and we commit everything to God in prayer, and He's going to help us through it.
Yes.
um
Before we move to the next slide, we have a
okay.
question here, and I'm just gonna read it out real quick. It says, "How does a parent handle children who exhibit certain behaviors and traits, but have been undiagnosed, so there is no set guidelines to help work with a child, because general rules might not necessarily address the issues you want to address."
Okay, if that person cannot, how old is this child?
Um, I no age mentioned here. So like there,
Okay,
yes. So
so
this is a situation where like there is no, I mean, general rules are not working for the child, but it's not like there is like a diagnosis. I mean
the
about the
child is not diagnosed to be on the spectrum or have anything going
exact.
on, but has displays behavior.
Mhm.
Again, it's because certain things have been accepted.
Hmm.
We're going back to that. Uh, y-
Yes.
you've said I could jump. You've ignored me jumping on the couch for so long.
How come
Of
it's
course, I'm going to, and this is what I like to do. Now you want me to stop? It's hard. You just have to be consistent in what your expectations are. Stick through it, and again, look, ask for resources. Ask the teacher, what do you suggest? You can pull things away. So sometimes I put, for example, uh I forget what I just forgot what this thing is called. So I create a sensory bin in my classroom, water, and just put Orbeez. This beads that swell up, they go up.
yes, yes,
When
yes.
Or even Play-Doh as another example. As my student keeps eating it. Yes, I want to eventually train that child not to put Play-Doh and eat Play-Doh, or
Mm-hmm.
eat crayons, or put those Orbeez in their mouth to eat.
Mm-hmm.
But so I then take it away completely, like, oh, okay, I've learned that this child does not know how to use this well. You
Mm-hmm.
completely take it away. So if it's something that parent can completely take away, so those behaviors are not displayed, you can take it away and then gradually expose them to it, to
Mm-hmm.
show how to play appropriately, which is the next topic we're going into, is playtime. So if you don't play with your child, you don't know how the right way for them to play, right?
Yes.
So for
Yes.
example, if I wasn't sitting with that child to know that that child eats crayon or eats Play-Doh or put Orbeez in their mouth, I was sitting and like playing with them, and in 2 seconds it's in the mouth. you know but those are, those might be extreme examples,
Mhm.
but I'm just saying one step could be you taking it away out of their sight, and then gradually, instead of putting the whole thing, you can put like just five, see how they work with that, and then gradually continue to, oh, okay, now you're playing appropriately, now you could have more and more and more. So that could be one way. If it's another, you could just consistently, with the consequences and the reward system, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, give the reward for screen time or whatnot. Children learn by observing, doing, and practice. So what they see you do, they're knowing, they're paying attention to what you're doing.
Mhm.
They might not say it, but they're seeing and they're observing. They're using, they're it's like they're storing all those information they're observing to pull it out as a resource to use later on.
Later.
So the more you expose them to appropriate things, the better for you. you know um Here I say playtime does not equal computer, it does not equal tablets. No, not at all. Communication is two-way. You see how I'm talking to you and you're talking to me back, and I wait my turn in conversation and then you respond, and it's back and forth. The tablet is not back and forth. They might be getting some content and learning certain skills, but they're not expressing it. So for example, a parent will come to me and say, oh, my child doesn't have difficulty with this and this and this, or he knows his alphabets A to Z, he knows this and this. Okay, but then when I ask the question, he's not responding to me.
Hmm.
So you're not building a full, well-rounded
Yeah.
child. So tablet, yes, we thank God for technology, but it's not the be all. And, no, we need to reduce the screen time. It makes life a little bit easier for us,
Right.
but it's not the best. Well, I don't want to divert, but screen time limited in school. As a teacher, we are technically given 30 minutes a week to expose children to screen time.
Fine. Wow.
Technically, a week, not 30
Okay.
minutes a day, 30
Oh,
minutes a week per child of screen time. So that's, and we have our students for 6 to 7 hours a day, right? So let's say they get home and they start screen time till bed.
hmm.
That's too much. There's no interaction. They're not learning social skills. They're not learning the rules of conversation, that, oh, she talks, then I talk. That's how, when they're interrupting you, oh, but mommy, they cannot wait. Oh, daddy, I want this, they want immediate response, because technology gives immediate
Yeah.
feedback, you know,
Hmm.
immediate satisfaction, you
Hmm.
know. There's no wait time. They see that commercial come up, you see that children know how to click that skip
Yes.
button right
Yes.
away. Like, nope, I'm not waiting.
Yes.
So reduce the screen time. It's going to help you play more, incorporate more playtime. When you're playing, you're teaching those social skills. You're teaching, in that little white box, it says more of the social developments that
Hmm.
you see. So, like self-awareness, they get to learn about themselves. Oh, after I do this and this, oh, I can't handle that much anymore, then I have to stop. They learn self-awareness. They learn self-regulation, that, oh, I have to, when I'm starting to get upset, I need to take a deep breath.
Hmm.
With interaction, you learn that. You don't learn that from tablet. You know. Sorry, 1 second. Let me see if I can make this. Oh, I don't have it. Well, I can make it bigger, but you get to build relationship with your peers. when you have a good social development, with good social skills, good interaction. You learn to play, you learn to take turns, you learn to wait your turn, you learn to share, look away. Oh, you want this? Okay, I'll wait for you to be done with it. There are different things. You learn problem solving skills. I
Yes.
had one of the children at church. I didn't want her to I didn't want her to go through. I was trying to create a barrier for her not to,
Mhm.
but she is so smart that I put my legs up, and because of her problem solving skills, she went under and she flew. This shows that, oh, she has play skills. It's not always tablets. You learn to think outside the box. When you're playing with mommy and daddy, when you're building blocks, you learn to build. You're learning certain problem solving skills that you can incorporate into life skills. you know um and as a parent, when you sit down and play puzzle, you're like, oh, this puzzle is so difficult. Then you're teaching your child, turn it around this way. You use language, you use different things. Oh, I couldn't even figure it out. So they learned that, oh, even my parents are not perfect. We're learning together. There's so many things you can do through playtime. I take walks with my nieces and nephews at the park, and they're telling me about what happened here, and I use that opportunity to correct certain languages they might be using, or share certain things that I would want them to understand. So instead of iPad, do floor time play. I remember growing up doing this word. How they'll we rule those lines: name, animal,
Oh,
place, thing.
this thing.
Teach your children those things. You
Yes.
come up with it's family time. Go be on the floor, play with them, or like I said, take walks, throw the ball. You're teaching eye coordination. When you're throwing, you don't know all those skills that you're incorporating into your child's life with little play. When you're throwing and catching a ball, you're teaching joint attention, I
Yeah.
different things. You're teaching your child. Play is very important. It plays such a huge role in children's life. You see that when you take a child to daycare, they're like, oh, you don't really have homework, because they learn to play. They're establishing those foundational skills of social interaction. Of you have to be dev- Children have to be developed socially.
Mm-hmm.
Their social emotional skill have to be developed before you can learn,
Yes.
right? If
Yes.
I'm not happy as a child, whatever you're trying to teach me.
It doesn't work.
Exactly. So where we started from, as to knowing your child, building those relationships, then you want to teach them something, then they'll
Yeah.
accept what you want to teach them. Provide various sensory inputs. The tablet doesn't do that. You guys can just be outside blowing bubbles. That's like an activity.
Mm-hmm.
You can create a spa day. Put water in a bowl, put your feet in, their feet in. That's your family time. Nothing is too little. You're spending time with your own children, getting to know them, do different things together to build that relationship, to teach skills, that tablet's not going to teach. They might watch from today to tomorrow. To implement or put that into practice, it has to be through human interaction for you to, you know, put those things into practice. So human family parenting interaction is very, very significant in the life of our children. Self-regulation, so like I had mentioned earlier, calming yourself down, relaxing, all those things you can teach through play.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're having a stressful day? Okay, let's just take, let's have quiet time. I used to play a game with my nieces, um, when they've had, they're noisy and everything. Oh, I forget what the song is, but it was a Christian prayer song, and I would sing it, and it was really like who can stay quiet for the longest. It became competition. So I would sing. I don't remember what the song is, but it was a song. We sing it, and then we go quiet.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
Whoever breaks it or breathe, after you stayed
Mhm.
quiet for like 1 minute, whoever breathes funny or laughs funny or giggles, oh, you lost. It became a game. So you needed quiet. Oh, let's play the quiet game. And I would sing the song and be quiet, and that's it. You got your 30 seconds to breathe and have quiet. So many things you could do through play.
Yes.
So reduce the tablet and incorporate more play in family time. Okay, so the next slide, sleep and healthy habits. Children age 3 to 5 need 10 to 13 hours of sleep. I learned this as a teacher.
Oh.
So when we incorporate nap time in the school day, I was wondering why, looked it up and found out children age 3 to 5 need 10 to 13 hours of sleep because their brain is still growing.
Mhm.
The brain has to recover to get more information because, again, they're learning to observation. They're constantly playing, they're learning things. How does it retain that information? So the brain has to rest, and while resting, it's growing, it's developing, it's recovering. So let your children have nap time. Let your children go to bed early. Establish those routines so these things can happen. Children older up to teenage, they need 9 to 12 hours of sleep. And when they're in school, what do I notice as a teacher? If a child's not well rested, they're very irritable, right? They snap, they get cranky, they can't learn. Beginning of the year, I give the opportunity for parents to, because they're still young. If you want, I would communicate with you, and if you want, you can pick up your child so they get to rest a little bit, or we'll do the best that we can to work with that child. They're not engaged, they're not participating. You're singing songs and clapping,
Yeah.
and they're just like, there's no learning going on when you're not well rested. Even as adults,
As
you take that
adults.
you take that coffee to give you a little wake up, but children cannot take coffee. And after that coffee, in like another 2 hours, you're like, when is the day gonna end? But the children don't have that. So give them the rest that they need, not even that they want. They don't want to go to sleep because they
Mhm.
want to be on the tablet, but
Yeah.
they need to go to sleep for their brain to develop, for them to be healthy. So,
Mhm.
incorporate that into your routine and let them have the nap time. Poor attention. Their attention is so short already as children. They have my an
Short.
attention span of 10 to 15 minutes. So it becomes even shorter when they're not well rested. In like 2 minutes, you lost them. So give them the rest that they need. They don't retain information. So for example, you've established the routine. I know that when I come to classroom, my jacket goes here. I know that when I finish playing with this toy, it goes on this shelf in the blocks area, not on this shelf in the toys and table area. But when I don't have enough rest, I cannot retain information of what I knew, or I cannot retrieve the information that I had in the past. I can't retrieve it to respond to certain things. So give them the rest that they need. Let them nap. Let them go to bed early. Um, Healthy habits. Eating habits. Yes, incorporate healthy meals. Those vegetables, hide it. Hide it into something that they like. Incorporate vegetables, incorporate fruit, give healthy snack choices. Um, Notice if your child is very restrictive to what they're eating. If it's not allergy, talk to a nutritionist, talk to their doctor. Pay attention to how they transition to other meals. So when they're baby, they're eating pureed food. As they grow, give them solid or smoothen it a little bit. So let them transition to different meals,
Mhm.
um, and adjust. Let them food has texture, so let them experience different texture of food, how they grind it, how they break it, and different things. And let them be independent eating. It'll start by eating with their fingers, their hands, but then it will grow to them use picking up the fork, eating appropriately, and so on and so forth. Um, and then uh, the next slide is the review for the parents. So basically, before I even go into the review, is there anything that anyone would like to share as to what they think they've heard so far that they think they can incorporate? So everything from, so before we go into the review and recap the whole thing, is there something that, oh, knowing my child, or let me go back to the
Yeah.
topic. Yeah. So, knowing your child, training and routine, rules and discipline, consequences, playtime, sleep, and healthy habits. Is there anything that you think, okay, you know what? I see this point and I think I could incorporate it right away with, my family or my child. Is there something anyone would like to share that they think they could um take away from the talk so far?
So from, I mean, no, I'm not seeing any comments yet, but I'm
Okay.
sure because this is a lot of information, and myself, I've learned a lot here. Like I've been in like so many other seminars where they talk about kids, especially when you have younger kids. But I've learned a lot here, and one thing that really resonates with me is when you listen to your kids. So you're not only talking to them, you're listening to them, and you will
Right.
find out a lot of things that they know, or a lot of things that they keep to themselves, or a lot of things that they just feel like, okay, it doesn't matter. They can just keep doing that, or someone can just keep like what they feel, their feelings. You find all those out through listening to them. You talk and listen. With the way we grow up, our parents just talk to us. They don't care how
Well, really more like talked at us, right? They talked at us,
exactly.
but now we want to be, want it to be more interactive,
Yeah, yes.
give
That's
and take. You're talking, I'm listening, I'm asking questions to know more, to let you know that I'm listening. Because if you're talking, and you stay silent, there's no interaction,
interaction.
which is why we want to gear away from the tablet. But if you're asking questions and you're receiving responses, then it's like, okay, my parents are listening. My parents do care about what I
Mhm.
say and how I feel.
Yeah.
So that, well, I'm glad there's one takeaway.
No,
Uh,
no worries.
hopefully hopefully
They're just
there'll
a
be
lot that
there'll be more. Okay, so let's just breeze through review real quick. So as a parent, you want to create better relationship
Mhm.
and understanding with your child by interacting and communicating, right? We really established that in the beginning about knowing your child, and as we went through, we talked about how communication and interaction is important to our family relationship. Ask questions again, like we said, when you're communicating, you want to ask back and forth. How was your day? What did you do? Who did you play with? What did you learn? What does that mean when they say something? Oh, I've never heard that before. You're learning from your child. What does that mean? Wow. And even if you've heard it before, for your child to think they're impacting knowledge to you as an adult, is like, oh, I did something for mommy. I did something for
Mhm.
that. They're proud of themselves.
Yes.
Go for walks, like I expressed. Play games together, cook together, organize together. When you cook together, you're teaching turn taking, you're teaching math, measuring skills,
Mhm.
you're using fine motos, your kinesthetic type of learning. So many things when you do things together with your children. Organize together. We did grocery. Help me bring the groceries. How many onions did you want to buy? Keep the items on the shelf and put two in the refrigerator. We'll use it soon. Let's have a conversation. I can help you organize things together better. Eat together. Incorporate cleaning, reading, your bedtime routine, which incorporate that together, part
Can
of
you?
your routine.
The network is kind of
Sorry, say that again.
okay. So I can hear you now. I wasn't hearing you.
Okay, go back to the other end. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's going in and out.
Oh,
Hmm. Okay, now I can.
okay. All right. So I said go for a walk together, play games together, cook together, bake together. When you're baking, cooking, you're teaching them math skills, you're teaching them turn taking. They measure when they organize your grocery for you, you're teaching them to put things away. You could use, math skills. Oh, I said to tell your child, put 2 onions in the refrigerator, because I'm going to use it. Put 5 of them in the on the shelf because I don't need them right now. You've talked about numbers. If they do it right, you're so many things. You're teaching language, you're teaching on the shelf, placement of things over, in the refrigerator, different things. Clean together, read together, incorporate reading to your bedtime routine, pray together. Um, and then they get used to it. Then they start to ask you, "Oh, mommy, we didn't pray tonight. Are you gonna pray?" Or
Exactly.
"Daddy, you didn't pray for us before we went to school. Don't
Yeah.
forget." They start to remind you of these things because now it's been established as part of your routine. So on the
Yes.
next slide, again, establish routine. There's You have morning routine, you have afternoon routine, you have evening routine, and I put an example of those routine here. So for example, a morning routine would be wake up, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, get dressed, and have breakfast right before you step out for
Mhm.
school. An afternoon routine might be have your lunch, take a nap, a little bit of TV, and then you play games, and then you go out for either your taekwondo or your ballet or other activities. Your evening routine might be bath. You have your bath first, change to pajamas, brush your teeth, read a story, and then you go to bed. But every section has its own routine. And even when you go on holidays, because now they're home with you for the duration of time, so you can incorporate different routines during all the holiday time.
Mhm.
So but it's definitely start working on establishing a routine. If it's too much, which it can be overwhelming to establish a full day routine, start with your morning block. Start working on, okay, now I'm going to work on my morning block of the day. This is what I want to establish. Remember, we talked about the whole picture. This is what I want to establish. This is
Yeah.
my goal for the morning block. Then you start with the first one. I
Hmm.
want to make sure that when they wake up, they say their prayer, they fix their bed, and they brush their teeth. Work on that. It might take weeks, it might take months, but once that's gotten done with, you move to the next block in the
Mhm.
morning and work on that. So, just take your time. Children are constantly growing. You're constantly growing. It's gonna take time. I had a child that the parent moved from one apartment to a different apartment building, and it was
And- Oh
it
wow.
was chaos. But with help, give them the picture, show them, it's not too much, everything's still the same, we're still the family going there, our things are still the same, it's just a different space. And gradually the child adjusted. So it's children are going to adjust. It might take time, but once you're consistent with your routine and the rules you've established, they'll adjust, and they'll make that positive change that we want as parents. And
Yes.
don't be discouraged when accidents happen. Use it as an opportunity to teach them, to correct something. Yes, you told your child to take the plate to the sink and they broke all your half of your plates. By the time they break the second one, you'll be like, I think I need to get a plastic plate for my child until they're better. So it's a learning process. Don't be afraid to um have them
Age.
do things, let them be independent. And then the last one, have your rules and follow through. Have your rules as a family, follow through. And what one parent says, the other must be in agreement, right?
Agreements. Mm-hmm.
Must be in agreement,
Mm-hmm.
or at least pretend in front of the child or children until you discuss further. Okay? Children, again, are very observant. Oh, but daddy said, but mommy said,
Yeah, and they
you
will
know,
take advantage of the situation.
absolutely, to the fullest. So You must be in agreement and then have the conversation later, and then you could tweak it and change it. Oh, but you said, oh yeah, we talked about it and we think this is better.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's perfect. That's why through play, you can show that you're not perfect. Oh, I didn't know how to fix this puzzle. Oh, but you helped me. Thank you. So when something else arises and you came up with a rule, but you see that that rule didn't work with your family and you adjust the rule. Oh, but mommy, you said this was the rule. Yeah, daddy and I talked about it. You know what? I think this one is better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. You move on. So they learn to be flexible and then you adjust together as a family.
Exactly.
Um, so the other resources I have here, as you had mentioned, that child hasn't been diagnosed for anything. Um, so they didn't know how to work with their child, but we said after, consistency, or take the material away and work with your child gradually. In New Jersey, early intervention is provided under the age of 3. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, you notice certain delays in your child, or your child is not talking, or you've gone to the doctor's checking the milestone but they didn't refer you, you could change your doctor. You could, but under the age of 3, you could go to your town, call your town's your district, and go to the board of education, talk to them, say you want your child to be evaluated. They get early intervention. You don't pay for anything. These are the services that you get through the state. You're a taxpayer. You get those services through the state. They come into your home. They provide services for you: speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy if it's needed. They come in, they assess your child, they see what your child needs, and they provide those services for you below the age of 3. um, Again, like I mentioned, during your wellness visits and you go to see the doctor and the doctor's not doing anything, res- uh, look up a developmental pediatrician. Those are more expert. They get to see more detail about your child, and then they could refer you and tell you, okay, I'm going to refer you to a neurologist. I'm going to get you the services that you need, so your child can improve and do better. Once they're in school, they get an IEP. So that's an individualized education plan. So most of the children in my classroom, well, all the children in my classroom have IEPs. They have an individualized education plan that this child has to do this, 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 and by law, you have to follow it. And they have this IEP from the age of 3 to the age of 21, and it goes with them. Don't feel like it's a stigma. I know us Africans, Nigerians, you feel like, oh, it's a stigma. No, your child is getting the resource that they need. They can
Yes.
always grow out of it. You know,
Yes.
don't feel like, oh, I'm not going to give my child speech therapy because then they'll label. No, your child is an individual. Your child is a child of God. Look at it like that. My child is a child of God. Whatever label anybody puts outside of my child is not, because my child is an individual, a child of God. But
Mm-hmm.
just look at it as your child getting the resources that they need to help them be better individuals, to help them talk better, to help them write better, to help them walk better. You want to get all the benefits you can get. That doesn't have to come out of your pocket. That is provided for you.
Yes.
Use the resources that you have. There's some links here that gives you more information. I'm sure Pastor Shay will share with you later. If you want more information on what an IEP is, what a 504 is. A 504 is for example, if your child is not diagnosed, um, they get a 504 to get accommodations. So, oh, it takes my child longer to read a sentence. So during exam time, your 504 will say that child gets more time to read the sentence. Or the 504 will say, oh, I'm going to print the written materials in a larger print so my child can read. Just a few, you know you get a 504 to make sure that your child is able to do what they need to do,
Yeah.
and be successful as an individual. Other resources, that link over there says there are 13 categories under the IDEA law that your child can receive services. So you can the 13 different. They could be speech, it could be autism spectrum, it could be um they're different. If Hold on, let me see if I click on it. Unfortunately, you can. All right. So here. All right, so it says there's specific learning disability, dyslexia, reading expression disorder, other health impairment, ADHD. They're playing, to stay attention, to be focused. Autism spectrum disorder, emotional disturbance, speech or language impairment, visual impairment, deafness, hearing impairment, deaf blindness, orthopedic impairment, intellectual disability, traumatic brain injury, multiple disability. So those are the 13 categories that, they can provide service for your child. So don't feel like, oh, because IEP might be only on the autism. No, it could be speech. It could be, there are different things, and it could be emotional. Oh, my child doesn't know how to manage their emotion, and I need to be able. Oh, right, there you go. I need to. So you look through all those things. You might be able to get services for your child through that. Another especially for my age group that I work with, I always refer them to the CDC website. It's a good tool I encourage parents to use to track the milestones of their child. It gives you a milestone from 2 months to 5 years old. What should my child be doing? How much language should my child have? Just simple things, how to that you can work on. If the doctor is not seeing certain things and you refer, I'm looking at the milestones and they're not reaching these milestones. What do you think? Then they could refer you to, you know. So sometimes, you know, if certain people, if you know your child the best, as we should, based on our interaction and our communication, you can see certain things that, oh, my child's not doing. I have to be proactive. We want to be proactive to get the best out of our children. You know these things, and then you're able to present this. Oh, my child is not doing this, and the third. Then you're able to get certain services. And the last one is registering a child with birth defects. You're getting resources for your child. You're able to get um different resources. If you look at the website, it'll tell you to register. I mean, and you get all these things under the government, not out of your pocket. Insurance will cover certain things. So please, let's take advantage to help our children and get the most out of them. And now we go to questions. And remember, oh, that's the website about registering. Yeah,
Yeah.
you register on there.
Mhm.
So I don't know how much time we have for questions. If we have questions, if I covered it all.
You
But remember that every family is different again, so you really have to, if you don't spend that time knowing what works for your children, having that relationship and interaction, then, it'll be harder to incorporate the strategies and the ideas, so you have to first build that relationship and build that communication, interaction, the playtime, the back time, the bedtime, communicate, know your child, take away tablet time for a little bit.
I know.
I know with my nieces now, there's no technology during the week. It's weekend. You get it Saturday, Sunday, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I used to read with them a lot. Read with your children. Walk to the library. I used to take them to the library. Your library, you register, you have free resources. You could
Yes.
get books from the library. When you go to the library, you could have there are
Yes.
puzzles. You play with puzzles there. There are materials there you could use, or and so many things you can do. Or go to your Home Depot store. Sometimes they have activities there
Yes.
um, for children. So there things out there that we need to start taking advantage of rather than just always screen time and you know tablet.
Thank you so much, Miss Christina, because
You are very welcome.
I learned a lot today.
Mhm.
There's some that I know, like out of so many resources that I've also gotten, and there are some that they're really new to me, and I appreciate. And I'm sure that everyone online also have one thing or the other that they learned in this particular seminar, and we appreciate you for that. And I usually say to people, especially when people feel like, oh, okay, so my growing child or my 3 year old or 2 year old is not doing as much as I feel like they should be doing, I would say
Mm-hmm.
take every help you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so many resources. Don't
Absolutely.
feel like, oh, they're gonna label the child. And you mentioned that. Like,
Right.
no, take every help. Like where we came from, we didn't have that opportunity. They don't use
Exactly.
beauty to instill that
Who
that
comes to your house for free to teach your child how to play and how to
ex
build their language, you know?
yes,
So there's so many things you can
yes,
benefit from. So don't feel like, oh, label or no label. The
yes.
label is only to give your child the resource and the benefits that they need. And afterwards, if you don't want it, you know,
Mhm.
you're a parent, you're the advocate for your child, you get to advocate for your child. And if
Yes.
you feel like, oh, if you feel like as a parent you don't know how, for parents who have IEPs, who have
Mhm.
children that have
Mhm.
IEPs, you feel like you can't express your needs and your concerns, you can hire an advocate.
Hmm.
There's a book that your child study team is supposed to give you called Price, parenting something something. I can't remember what it stands for exactly right now, but that book has all the information that you need to get
Mhm.
the best for your child. So you could hire an advocate to, oh, this is what I want for my child, but I don't know how to express it when we have the child study meeting, when we have an evaluation for my child. So I need an advocate to come in. There, they will the district you have they will get you an advocate to come speak for you on behalf of your child, so you get what you need for your child, what you want for your child, or what your child, well, better yet, what your child needs to reach their potential.
I mean,
So
information is key. That's one. If there's one thing I've learned in this America,
yes,
information is key. You can be in darkness and the light is just right by you, but without the information, you wouldn't know anything. So
right.
thank you so much. I'm sure like a lot of people will find all those resources that you put out there, the links, they are gonna find them very useful, and they're gonna trust me. I'm sure you've blessed someone
I
today.
hope I blessed at least one person, you know. That's
Trust.
why we're here. And that one person will bless another person, and it continues to go on and on and on. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And if you have any other questions, if you pass it along to Pastor Shay or Sister Jumoke, I'll be happy to answer them afterwards. Or if I don't know the appropriate response, I'll try to find time to ask my colleagues or people around me that I know that might have the information, and then we'll get that back to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ma.
Thank you.
Today we're gonna be putting a stop to the seminar. I know it's supposed to be a 1 hour, but we took longer. But
Oh, wow.
information is really, really key, and we are happy to do this. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sending in your questions and everything. Till next month when we will be addressing something else. This is what I'm going to say to everyone. Keep learning. Information is very key. Please keep learning. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day ahead.